Thank you. It was not recording.
I thought I didn't hear that yet. All right,
Now it is.
is this an annual get
Yes,
together?
he
Should
usually
be.
offers, they've done it for 3 years now, I think. And the Lord Mayor changes annually. I think they have an election every year. So yes, it's
Yeah.
been a tradition that they host the Zoom. It's usually before Christmas. They usually do a Christmas toast of some kind, but it was kind of, because it was January 7th, it was, all right, let's get this over with.
It wasn't as festive, maybe if it was, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
December 21st or something.
Exactly.
They do have a weird setup where their mayor is very much the. Their mayor is very much a figurehead that goes around and cuts ribbons and shakes hands and kiss babies. And the rest of the council does the actual work for that year. But no one actually wants to be the mayor because you just have to go around and, you know what I mean?
In this velvet cloak with the heavy gold.
Yeah, yeah, they have a little piece
badge
of
of
gold that's, you know,
office.
600 years old or, you know, thousands of years old.
Somewhere.
We're getting an update from the Zoom call with Lord Mayor from Portsmouth, England. So it's very different, yeah. It's like you get the pomp and circumstance mayor, and then you get like the business council and everything that kind of.
So you have some that are both.
Yeah, 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 right. Right.
And the
It's being
Lord
recorded,
Mayor
right?
before last was here, visited here, the pictures of him somewhere, I think in the case. And he was a very nice guy, very affable. He was here on one of the hottest days of the summer and had all of this stuff and he was melting, but
I remember him on the old Fair Landing deck and in all his garb and
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, oh. I see why no one wants to do this. But no, they were very nice. And I think, you know, obviously those, like I said, those little conversations I think are so important for the very big relationship.
yeah, and it's actually, I mean, I'm thinking about the process because Portsmouth, England has a consultant who maintains the relationships with the sister cities. So it's clearly in his best interest to have this gathering of the sister cities or twin cities, as they call them. But it's not a bad model to follow if we could organize anything, the challenge being one of our sister cities is 12 hours ahead of us, which just makes it impossible to do something in person, but anyway. Be
But no, that would be something to think about, like organizing.
sending greetings on behalf of the committee.
Yep, yep. And inviting, you know, all of our relationships to be in one spot at one time, you know, might be something we try to set up in the future.
And also to have some kind, consider a relationship with Portsmouth, Rhode Island, Portsmouth, Virginia, and I think there's a Portsmouth, Ohio. And it would make sense to me to have some kind of connection. There isn't a formal that I'm aware of. Ben, do you know of a sister city equivalent for domestic?
Not that I know of.
Yeah,
I
so
see them mentioned online, but I don't know if they're a real
There's
thing or. I've seen a couple places that say are US sister cities.
just so that when citizens and other people
The house and stuff.
try to reach us and get Virginia, that they know.
Yeah, yeah. We get that a lot at the library.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's that.
Excellent. All right, so we'll go into the Sister City Trust Fund. I want to thank Bob for his work on this and
And Christine probably has the latest update.
You've got it in front of you.
and
Thank you.
again, the purpose of this was to create a fund where monies can be used or donated and used for gifts and for other sister city activities. I don't know if everyone wants to look through it for a minute and make sure. What other edits were made or any?
So it's number 5,
five.
just adding some examples of ways in which maybe we need to capitalize E. But that was the only thing that Bob and I discussed and added some examples of ways in which we might use the monies.
We're also gonna capitalize Sister City in all references.
And we left it as the request for the city manager to be the sign for the decision to be made.
I think that's what we have to vote on today. We didn't have a.
Okay.
Didn't have a quorum last time, so we're gonna. Confirm that.
Like this trust is, it's fashioned as an agreement between the trustees of trust funds and the city council. But it was everybody's feeling from the beginning that even though the Sister Cities Committee is not a signatory to the document, that the document should really accomplish whatever it is you want to accomplish with it. So we are here now to determine whether the document you see in front of you would accomplish what you want to accomplish. If you were happy with it, then it goes next to the trustee, who will authorize that it go to the city council, who would then authorize that the city manager sign. That's the.
And what we talked about actually 2 meetings ago, the issue was that we may hear from the trustees that they want to make the decision, not the city manager. And your position is that.
The city manager should make the decision.
So, which is as it's written.
And I'll hold the line on that. So. And
And there's no reason not.
I agree.
One other typo in number 4, line 4 of number 4, there's a space between the B and the E of B.
Any other comments on the document or? A motion to approve it and send it to the trustees of
I
the
move
trust.
that we approve as written and advance it to the trustees.
I'm happy to second that.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
I,
Chair votes aye. Any opposed?
I guess I forgot to vote. I'm in favor.
All right, it's unanimous. Send this to the trust, and like Bob said, then if the trust approves it, goes to the council and then city manager.
Yeah, because the trustees are a signatory, they have to agree. So if they don't agree with the terms of this, then it'll be coming back here.
Yep, okay.
You'll see it again.
So I will send you the updates with these corrections. Take it, or
I don't know who has the original of this in there.
I have what you sent me, so I think I can do it.
Yeah.
But then I can send it back to you for trustees. Does that work?
Sure, and I'll send it to the trustees and I'll bring it to the trustee.
What's the time frame for this, Bob? By next meeting, do we know if they accept it or reject it?
They can hang on for a while. too. And they might, because we know that at least one of the trustees has the not happy with the city manager being certified.
And I think they met this morning, so their next meeting won't be till February, middle of February.
I think, I mean, as far as timeline. My intent, I was thinking like the next visit of like students or, you know what I mean, like
Mhm.
we went through that process and we didn't have. Any means of funding gifts or an event or anything. So I was like, as long as we're ready for the next time, then. There's no other reason to rush this through or to put any pressure on anyone.
And I think some of our kids are going somewhere this spring, but we don't have any visitors till fall. Is that right?
Usually, our students go various places during spring break, and I know there's a delegation going to Nishanon, but they usually take things that city gifts that we already have, so we don't need to find. Yeah, the question with Nishinon is they might come in September because it's the 120th anniversary of the treaty. So rather than waiting till October, the students and or a delegation from the city might come in September, for September 5th, early. So, but haven't heard one way or the other.
Right? And next we have, a relationship with Hungary. We have this letter from Solnik. Hungary. They say they've not been in contact in some time, but would like to reestablish contact to reaffirm our twinning relationship. That must be a common, that's what they use over in Europe.
Yeah.
twinning, Which is counts, like it's even more than sister cities, right, for twins. Which has established 31 years ago. I attached the official document, which was written by Eileen Foley in 1997 in Solnik. I think cooperation is important and part of the community's international relations, and we feel that now is an excellent opportunity to work together again on projects that can benefit both cities. We would like to hear about your opportunities and interests and how we can shape future cooperation together. We see these opportunities for joint work in future areas, culture, events, exhibitions, which is good. We are setting up a fund to do so if we ever wanted to do anything over here. Educational program, student exchange. And then we hope we find a similar interest in continuing the relationship with our city and can continue the conversation in person, either a form of video conference, future meeting. Don't hesitate to reach out.
Sure.
Any ideas, thoughts?
Yeah, I think somebody from this committee,
I was asked if I would send something back today. They sent me a thing today and I said, we're meeting this afternoon.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we will send something.
Yes.
Won't be just me, but the committee can send something for sure to Adrian Adam.
Did we receive this on their own initiation?
Yeah, it's too bad it's not from Morocco. since-
Yeah.
Everybody here wants to talk to Morocco. It'd be nice if we got the same, but it's always nice to hear from our sister
The fact
cities.
that
so,
anybody is
yeah.
looking to talk to us
Yeah.
during the event, that's kind of cool.
I thought of something that you mentioned earlier, though, in talking about all of meeting with our sister cities, the video setup that Steve has up at the high school
Yeah.
would be ideal for at least them, because they're only 6 hours ahead of us
Yeah.
to work with, not all of them,
Yeah.
but it would be nice to know how. I've talked to their people, because I'd love to have one for the library too, but they're kind of costly.
Don't you need like a same thing on their end?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to figure out how they do this because they set it up somehow. You don't have to have the same pod that Steve has at
Yeah.
both ends, but you have to have something.
Okay,
But I could talk to him and to the company and say, what would we need? Because then we could recommend that. Be kind of fun to wait and see.
Yeah.
so Christine, what are you gonna write to them?
I don't know. That's what you guys have to. What do we want to say? Because they were like, opportunities and interests. How can we shape future cooperation? And we can say, hello, thank you for reaching out to us. We're happy to hear from you.
Yeah. I mean, we could try to set up a, I don't want to speak for the mayor or know his, schedule, but if we could set up some sort of Zoom call or something, and at least, I don't know, conversation.
Do we want to tell them the sorts of things we do with our other sister cities so that we're setting expectations?
Sure.
And I'm thinking even reference, I don't remember, sorry, Counselor, the specifics of the draft agreement you created for New Zealand, but I think you were pretty specific as to kind of creating a shell of what might be possible.
Yeah.
And that might help. Because right now, we're mostly student exchanges. Happily. We have invited representatives from our sisters to look like the 400th, but that should have literally sailed.
Trying to think of any other upcoming big ones besides Japan.
Basically.
I mean, the same kind of greetings on their national day, whatever that is. I don't know what Hungary's national day is, but I'm sure they have one.
I'm wondering, with your advice, both of your advice, because you know the person involved. I'm wondering if it would be useful for us to reply somewhat generically, but then invite Peter Somsich to this committee next time, because he
Yes,
comes
good
from
idea.
Hungary. He knows the official, the honorary consulate in Boston, and he might have some ideas about,
I think that's a good idea.
Great idea.
since he was, in the last time he was a representative, he had the consul at the State House for a national anniversary, so. He knows as much as anybody off the top of my head about Hungary.
Okay.
I think to offer realistic expectations, I think it's fair to say that we have a newly formed committee that is just beginning the process of engaging with communities and would love to continue that conversation so that we're not setting ourselves up for a lot of expectations on their end right off the bat.
Yeah.
You know,
Especially their only specific thing with educational programs and culture events is, incorporate anything. But without the principle here, you know what I mean, it's kind of hard to obviously.
You think communists?
The Hungarians? No.
Oh, no, but they
No,
have
no,
the
they're far-
president.
far
They have
right-wing
the
now.
president who's a fire,
Yeah,
Trump
that's-
kind of guy.
At the moment,
are we recording today?
I guess we could also
Try to-
say, if you're headed in our direction, we'd be delighted to meet you.
We'd be delighted.
Because we did that with Center Council.
Yeah, yeah.
Sure. It's like
So on a lesser commitment vein than that, Stephanie, would it be appropriate to ask them if we could do a face-to-face via Zoom?
Mhm.
I get the 6 hours, which is not insurmountable.
Right.
So rather than having a 2-page letter that's gonna make somebody fall asleep reading it. If we were to sit.
Christine's a very talented writer.
Talent. I've heard about the talent. No. But if we're in a room on a Zoom and their county's in a room on a Zoom, we
Yeah.
chat about what we think we want from each other face
Yeah,
to
yeah.
face.
Does
Versus,
And we can
Email
invite
to
Peter
email.
Thompson.
That's what I was just
Yeah.
thinking.
If we need a
Invite
translator.
Peter, who's a
Sure.
countryman.
Yeah, and then Peter, would he be able to translate?
We
Maybe,
need that.
Yeah.
Need it, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think, yeah.
Okay, so
Suggest
we
a
are,
Zoom.
so thank you for your
Yeah.
letter. We are a new committee. Learning about ways in which we can cooperate and interact with our twins. We think that a first good step might be a Zoom call among us, interested parties on either end, and we'd like to invite a local here. Well, we don't have to say that, but we could talk to
can
him
do it.
first,
Once
because I don't
we're
wanna, I
yeah.
don't wanna commit him until
Yeah,
we've talked to
exactly.
him. And say, up to this point, some of the examples of things we've done with our sister cities are, let's continue the conversation.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right? Does
I
that
think
sound
so.
good?
that's,
3/4 of
Sounds
the
great.
page.
right. Yeah, I think that's good. I can reach out to Peter or.
Okay. Yeah, you're, as chair, that
Yeah.
seems appropriate.
I'm also on the UI neighborhood committee with him.
Oh, yes.
My many hats. But I think that's a good starting point, and then, yeah, like you said, try to have a conversation as opposed
yeah,
to,
ask him to.
Yeah.
What they say.
And I could find the name of that honorary consul that
Okay.
I met, so you've got that background. I think there was a newspaper story in the Union Leader that I can send you.
All right, next we have the Sister City Gifts Project. You're talking about the display cases out front?
Right.
correct? Yeah.
I don't want buying gifts.
No, I had to say it twice too.
Yes, the labels are all now in place. I have corrected the one for Carrickfergus so that it now says Carrickfergus, Northern Ireland, my oversight. So we won't offend anyone, particularly the mayor of Carrickfergus, who was here for the 400. So yeah, and Robert and I were talking about whether students might be interested and whether you would be leading the effort with students. I mean, I guess we have the seal of the city of Zolnok, Hungary, and that's all we know. I mean, it's a good thing to have the agreement because we didn't even have that in our files. So maybe that's a place to start. There are things, Zolnok and what's the other one that barely says where the things were from? About burden. I guess the other, I mean, we don't really know a lot about Carrickfergus either, except for tying in, and now I remember that we talked about this before and I haven't done anything yet. The John Paul Jones quilt that's down near the ATM machine is from Carrickfergus. And you can interview Mr. Sullivan, who's been there.
Yeah, we had a very substantial effort last year to try and organize a trip. to Gettysburg. And it just kind of fell through right at the end. After a number of people had expressed interest, and we started planning with them.
Yeah.
And that is something that the committee, I think, think about, which is this, in terms of Zolnok or anybody else. What turned out to be really helpful in trying to arrange things with Carrickfergus was to form a personal connection with somebody who you can call. So maybe if you could, when you write to Zolnok,
Right.
confirm that maybe this
Adrian.
Adrian Adam is supposed to be the person,
Mhm.
and you know, call her. Call him. I'm not sure that would Adrian would know he is,
I know, I'm guessing male.
but so tactfully find out
Are you the best point person?
and call, you know.
Yeah.
I am, you know, Christine.
Who ended up with your email? Were you in connection with the mayor of Carrickfergus?
I am. I got her business card on my.
She was very, she was a real
Very-
party girl.
She was.
Adrian is,
There's no other way to say it.
Yeah, so it's a perfectly accurate.
Adrian is a woman and she's a photographer.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
Yep.
Ms.
And
Adam.
Google search her, find out all sorts of things.
And I'm also, though I'm loath to make more signs, at least one off. There is nowhere in any of the labeling have we explained the connection between East Antrim and Carrickfergus. They're right next to each other. And I think East Antrim has been incorporated into Carrickfergus.
I think it's the
The
opposite.
opposite.
I think Carrickfergus is into.
Right. So I should make up a label. Because the same thing happened, our original agreement in Japan was with the 3 cities that then all combined as Nishinan. Katango Town and
They still use Carrickfergus and Easter, they use both names. So,
they seem to, yeah.
Yeah.
Or do we need to twin with East Antrim
yeah, that's what I did.
to change that if they're legally?
Well, our agreement is with East Antrim.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, that's easy. Okay.
It's just the labels all talk about objects from Carrickfergus.
Okay.
Well, we should look into this a little. Carrickfergus is a borough, whatever a borough is.
Mhm.
Okay.
Antrim is a county,
Yeah.
I'll never leave it.
how they relate.
Maybe would you like to find out?
Yes.
Please.
We will start to look into it.
All right. Anyone else have any new business?
I do.
Yeah.
So this touches a few things that have been brought up today. It is common for chambers of commerce to coordinate international travel trips in their community. We have never done that here in Portsmouth. We've get hit up by every travel agency, like they always are pitching, and we've always kind of said that's not really core to what we do. And I've always sort of said, thanks for your email or phone call, whatever it is, and that's the end of the conversation. A local person, reached that I met at an event, is a travel agent and is doing work with the Exeter Area Chamber right now on an international trip. And she followed up with us about, would we be interested in something similar? And, you know, my initial thought was, no, not really. And then I thought of this committee and I said, I wonder if there's a way we could take these trips that these people organize, and is there a way to integrate a visit to a sister city into these experiences? And we had that conversation. There's a lot of different ways travel and learning a little bit. There's lots of ways travel agencies work. There's a lot of packages that, you know, it's very set thing and you follow this itinerary. There's others that have a lot more flexibility to them. So they're doing some research right now on what are some flexible experiences that would allow us to take a trip to the United Kingdom and spend a day in Portsmouth. And maybe have a day or a day and a half or something like that, whatever we think is appropriate to spend in our sister city and connect with those folks. And so I asked for that material in advance of today. We just met last week. It's taking them a little longer to put that together. But we have a meeting scheduled for the end of the month to continue that conversation. And I'll bring you that as an opportunity. I thought trying to do one annually might be a nice goal, to do that and pick a sister city and try to find a way to incorporate a trip that maybe is a little bit broader than just to the city, but include a day or so in the city. The other piece of this is typically the only reasons chambers do this is it raises money for them, right? There's usually a per person, like 200 or 250 or something like that, that comes back to the organization for their energy to help promote it, things like that. My initial thought was, you know, perhaps that is something that could be split between a donation made to the city to have a little bit of funding for gifts and things like that. And a little bit of money stays with us for our work to help promote it. So that's all pretty preliminary, just some thoughts at this point, but I thought I'd share it with the group. Any input certainly welcomed. But according to the travel agency, Portsmouth, UK seemed to be a pretty easy one to pull off. And they suggested starting there. So again, very preliminary, but I thought I'd just bring it to the group for input or thoughts or whatever have you.
So then you envision promoting it to chamber members and with the help of the agency, but not only chamber members.
Yeah, it's probably more likely promoting it to the community at large. We would promote it to chamber members too, but I think my understanding is the demographic that tends to go on these experiences are like early retirees, you know, that have disposable income and time and the energy to travel still. And that's probably the highest percentage of people that go. So it would be mostly community members, I think, that went. It's also, I forgot to mention this, it's also pretty common for there to be, for every 20, let's say, that sign up, we would have one free person to go. And whether that's a chamber person or somebody from this committee, you know, I'm flexible to that or both or whatever have you. Yeah, it's not just me. I don't need to be the guy. But that would, you know, maybe there was a designee from the city that went with on that took that spot and was able to, you know, officially do that kind of relationship building with the sister city.
And I love the idea that it raises the awareness of our sister city relationships with the general community. And there's a real connection.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So the idea is the first 20 sign up with the travel agency, pay their own way, and then the travel agency pays to bring one on.
So basically for every 20 we send, we get one comp. So
Through the travel agency.
through the travel agency, yeah. So the travel agency would give us one free person to you know, and there may be, you may have to pay for a flight or something like that. I forget the details. Well, it's really a negotiation process, whatever we negotiate out. Cause all they're gonna do is change the price for the participant to cover their margin and things like that. So, anyway.
No, I think it's a great idea. I think, yeah, I think that would only. Giving them a way to get to one of the sister cities, whatever, I think that would be a great, makes it real. And I know, I think we've heard from other, like, was it Nichinon or someone was, you could tell they already had like a travel agency like attached to their sister city committee and it was, funded and everything like that. But it's also a very generous thought of the chamber too, to. Yeah, I don't see positives coming out of that and starting with Portsmouth, England.
One other new business or old business that you remind me of is when Mayor McEachern met with the mayor of Sant'Arcangelo, there were some very specific things that the mayor of Sant'Arcangelo was suggesting. And I don't know, he was going to make the Italian was making a formal report and request and whatever of our mayor, and I don't know that that's happened.
No, and I was present and in my head, thank you for bringing that up, because I have been meaning to remind the mayor or just ask him again, like, hey, where are we? There was what was it? It was like food slow, or I forget
Right.
Slow cities.
Slow City. And it was kind of trying to promote like, go out to eat and take a walk afterwards, and go look at art and slow down, don't stare at your screen all the time. It was more promoting a healthy lifestyle. That's kind of the take I got out of it.
I need that.
Yeah, and it was just there.
They do that there. It's crazy.
I was like, why not? Like, I don't see how this would not benefit, our society as well. I think we all need to be reminded to slow down sometimes. Yeah, just his appreciation for like art, culture, music, entertainment. That was kind of the emphasis of that. The other thing was he was gonna donate an Illumineer, like a string lighting, that would, I don't know if, I know we were talking about like Bon Mall or something, but it was like they had holiday signs that said like Merry Christmas or something, but it was in string lights, going from one building to another.
Sure, kind of like they do it in the north end of Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he had expressed that he was gifting us. I
Because
didn't-
they make them there or something.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, is
That'd
it
be fun.
English? Is there, what was I gonna say? I don't, but I left that out to Mayor McEachern. So I'll ask him where those are and if there's anything this committee can do to help. Because the fact that he came here and, is presenting gifts and presenting programs that were really beneficial to everybody, wasn't really asking for anything,
I had a long conversation.
Yeah, I found it very fascinating. And they were very encouraging to go visit them,
It's phenomenal, really. I mean, it
yeah.
was very
yeah.
funny because I dragged my husband who
Oh,
was like,
yeah.
yeah, he was like, yeah, okay, fine. And when we left there, he said, can we move here? It was, I mean, it was, and of course, the person who was giving us a tour knew everybody. It was a fascinating former council person, but everyone was out in the streets. Kids were out playing in yards. It was like a movie set of a nice small town, and it's the same size as Portsmouth. It's like 20,000 or 22,000. It's very close to us. But it's a delightful place, and I think they live the slow city, slow food concept there, and yet they're right near, they're kind of they're not a suburb, they're a separate town, but it's like Rimini has grown out to it. So there's a lot of tourists next door at the beach.
Okay.
And I think they probably inherit some of those like day trips.
Yeah.
But as you were saying, as you were talking about the tour, I was thinking those are the kinds of things that the people in our sister cities would probably love, having visitors from here for a day or two who are staying in a hotel there and spending money there and
Yeah,
not bussing in and leaving, which is what I've been hearing all the complaints are from in Europe with they're getting off the cruise ship, they're descending like locusts, and then they're going back and they're not spending any money. They're like wandering around and getting back on their boat to sleep and stuff. And this might be a nice way to curb that a little.
Yeah, so I'll reach out to the mayor with that. And I'll reach out to Peter Somsich about the Hungary. I think next meeting, we're planning on meeting. Right, same time, same place,
Third Wednesday?
yes. Yeah, and if you heard anything, Ben, by then, you know, from
I
the
should,
travel
yeah.
industry, we could put that on the agenda.
The date of the next meeting,
19th
19th.
19th.
I think it's
Okay, thank you.
at 4 o'clock, does that work for everybody?
Mhm.
Recovered from Valentine's Day by then? Um. All right, if they, oh yeah, we do public comment. Is there anyone on Zoom, anyone from public?
And that, I got nothing on Zoom.
All right, anything else?
Yes, sir.
All right,
Make a motion to adjourn.
so just
Aye.
second, all in favor?
I-
Aye, all right, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Portsmouth.